Now the next thing is saving the record. So for that we will write public response entity. What we'll do here is we will create the object, and once the object is created we will send it in the response as well, because what is our intention over here is, if you see this object over here, we have this integer id field and this will be generated automatically. So what we'll do is the user will send the details for these three fields and this will be automatically generated and added into the object, and we will return this complete object once it is saved. So for that what we'll do is we will write here the category detail save category, and if we are using this we'll need the category detail object, right? So once we'll get that object then only we can save that. So category detail cat detail, so we will get this category detail and we will save it. For saving it we will create a category detail object cat equals to, here what we'll do is we will do the category detail service dot save, and here we'll pass the cat detail like this. So what this save will do is, if you see here, it will save the object and return the object over here. So we'll go here and we will save it, we'll got the response, and we will return if cat is not null and category dot get id is not null. That means our object is now saved. Then what we'll do is we will return with the response entity. No need for this because we are using the static method, that is okay, and it will be the cat. Otherwise what we'll do is we will return response entity with category detail, and what we'll send here is http status dot, here we can send some statuses based on our requirement. So here we can send either not updated or not modified, or we can send some other as well, maybe like the 500 statuses like internal application, internal server error. So these things we can do. So here we will go with not modified. So because this is, here we are saving something, so we will use the post mapping here, because we will use the post method for saving the record. So post mapping, and here at the rate request body, because the post method has the body and our body will be mapped with cat detail. So whatever we'll send in the body, we will send it to the cat detail, and that body will be mapped with this one, and we'll save it and we'll return the response accordingly. If it is saved then okay with saved data, otherwise not modified. So save is also done. So the next thing is update. Public response response entity category detail update category. So according to the standards, here usually we send two parameters. The first parameter is the integer id which we are updating and the second thing is the updated object a detail like this. So here we will do the same operation but with a little bit of twist. What we'll do is, if the id is not null, that means we have identified what object we are added, so this should be a valid id, and the cat detail dot get id, this one is not null because it should have some id. So if we don't have any id, if the id field is null, then that will be considered as a create operation, and if the id is not null, that means we are updating our existing record because it has a unique id, right? So we'll send the id and we'll send the object. We will check if this id is valid. So the first condition will be like that: if the id is not null and category id is also not null, then what we'll do is we will update that, and the last thing should be the cat detail dot get id. It should be equal to the id. It shouldn't be like we are updating a record with id 1 but the payload in the cat detail is for id 2. Like this can happen, right? We are sending the payload of some other data and we are updating it on another. So this is not we are expecting to be the business. According to our business, the id field for this object and the id which we are updating should be the same. So this is just a business requirement which I am assuming for now. It can be vary for your condition, like how you are doing this thing. So it can vary based on the business scenario as well. So this thing is there. So in that case, what we'll do is we will write this code over here. If it's there, we will copy this and paste it over here like this. Otherwise, what we'll do, if this is this, else what we'll do is I forget to write this return. So this update is also done. So the last thing we have to add is we have to add the mapping. So in usual cases for updating a record, we will use put mapping. In normal cases, actually we use put for updating a record and post for creating a new record. So here in put we have to give the path as well because we have to pass the id here, right? So it over here, and as you know we have to use @path variable. So this field will be mentioned, like this id will be used from here and this will be from the payload because this put also has the body. So for that we will use request body. So like this, put is also done, that means the update is also done. So the last operation that is left is remove. For that, what we'll do is public response, because we have to send some response, right? Yeah, so response entity, we will send it. So now here it will vary, like what we want to send. We want to send string, we want to send boolean, or we want to send some custom generated payload. It can be a generic payload. So for now, just for example, we will use string over here, and here delete category. So here we have to pass the ID, the unique identifier for that record. And here what we'll do is, if this ID does not equals to null, and we can check if this record exists, then only we'll delete that, right? So in this case, what we'll do is we will use the category service dot get id does not equals to null. If it is also not null, that means we have data in the database, right? In that case, what we'll do is we will call this method category service dot delete this one. So if this is called, that means we have deleted the record, and it will return response entity with OK, that means deleted. Or we can use we can simply send a deleted. We can send just a dummy response with deleted. Anyhow, we are using this status code just to check if it is done or not. Otherwise, return new response entity, and here what we'll do is, here we'll pass the http status dot, we can send not found over here, not found, because we didn't get the data to delete it. So this is also done. Now we have to add the mapping, which will be the delete mapping, like this. And here we have to give the path as well. So the path will be slash id, because we'll receive one id which we want to delete, and added the wrong code here. So yeah, so this is correct. And here we have to give the annotation, that is yes, path variable. So this is done. So here we have written the code for get mapping. This is for get all, this is for get by id, this is for post, this is for put. Post is for saving, put is for updating, and delete is for deleting the record. So this concludes the controller layer, and in the next video we will run this application and check if the operations are working fine or not. See you in the next video.